Now, the dangerous politicizing of the Biden DOJ is now as obvious as ever tonight after the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, ordered the FBI to actually investigate, you got it, moms and dads who are standing up against far-left school boards on issues like CRT and COVID mandates. Now, with the Attorney General even suggesting that parents who are opposed to critical race theory and other far-left indoctrination efforts are, quote, wait for it, domestic terrorists. And that's not all, because a Biden proposal that maybe snuck into the Democrats' massive $3.5 trillion socialist spending spree would give the IRS even more power to spy on your bank account. That means $600 or more transactions. I mean, there's a lot of money at stake there. Here with reaction to all of this, now in its 12th week on the New York Times, 10 in a row at #1, the author of American Marxism. He's the host of Life, Liberty, and Levin here on the Fox News channel, syndicated radio talk show host. I have the distinction of calling him the Great One, Mark Levin. You know, Mark, I'm looking at this weaponization of the DOJ. We saw it when they went after the very inclusive voting laws in Georgia, and they didn't go after the very exclusive voting laws or restrictive voting laws in Joe's state of Delaware. Now we see the weaponization of the DOJ. Now they're going to use the FBI in what? Criminalize parenting because they complain about what's being taught in schools or COVID mandates. Is Terry McAuliffe right? Parents should just shut up and take whatever the school gives them?
You know, Sean, I served as chief of staff to an attorney general, Ed Meese, during the Reagan administration for some period of time. It never would have crossed our minds to do anything like this. The Biden Justice Department is made up of Obama retreads, the same Obama administration that unleashed the IRS against the Tea Party, you might recall. These people do not believe in civil liberties at all. They do not believe in competition of ideas or competition, period. What Merrick Garland has done here is he's trying to create out of the FBI some kind of East German Stasi. That's what he's doing. Spying on parents, gathering intelligence on parents, tracking parents, a special phone number that they use to report domestic terrorists. So a teacher who's offended or a school board member who's offended or a staffer who's offended can report a parent to their government. And the pretext here is some kind of widespread violence. There's no pattern or widespread violence. That pathetic letter written by the left-wing National School Board Association, they don't even provide a list of crimes that they think are committed. Moreover, the federal government has absolutely no authority whatsoever to even go into a school board meeting, let alone a classroom. These are state and local matters fully. Local police can handle any violence. And I want to remind everybody that the FBI did damn little when our cities were burning, when Black Lives Matter and Antifa were brutalizing people, were committing acts of larceny, were attacking our police. The FBI needs to get its act straight. So this is a pretext about widespread violence to intimidate, threaten, and suppress communities and neighborhoods all over the country to comply with the left-wing radical Marxist agenda, critical race theory, genderism, and anything else. It's a cabal of these thug teacher unions, these educational bureaucrats, these Marxist school contractors, and the Democrat Party and the Biden administration. They want to use the criminal division, the national security division, the civil rights division, the executive office of the U.S. attorneys, the FBI, and other entities within the Department of Justice where they have absolutely no authority whatsoever. This memo that Garland wrote, that could have been written by a third grader, he says in here, among other things, what do they want to do? They want to look at efforts to intimidate individuals based on their views? Why would you bring the FBI in for that? They're committed to using its authority and resources. They have no authority to do a damn thing here. They want dedicated lines of communication for threat reporting and so forth, so you can call up your government and report on a parent and send the FBI out to interview people. This is, I said, making the FBI into the East German Stasi. And you know what? Merrick Garland has a reason to do this beyond his ideological extremism. His family makes money from pushing this crap in our school districts. Critical race theory, genderism, equity, and all the rest. His son-in-law is a founding partner for Panorama, multi-million-dollar contracts with school districts. They're pushing this agenda in 25% of our schools so far, all around the country while his family is making millions. Let me say it here tonight. A special counsel needs to be appointed to investigate this Attorney General's ties and his family's ties to Panorama and is unleashing the full force unconstitutionally of the federal government to attack the constitutional rights of citizens and parents throughout this country. One quick thing. I want to talk about Mitch McConnell and the rest, too. We take in $320 billion a month in this country. The taxes are paid whether the government's open or closed. You pay your payroll taxes whether the government's open or closed. $320 billion a month. The debt service every month is $44 billion. That leaves approximately $280 billion left to pay for what? To pay for everything else. Social Security is separate because you have a payroll tax on that. Medicare is separate. Neither of those are in danger, despite what the liar-in-chief says in the Oval Office. As a matter of priority under the 14th Amendment, federal pensions have to be paid, as well as veteran benefits have to be paid. Beyond that, there is no question of us falling out of favor on full faith and credit. There's plenty of money to pay the debt service. The problem is there's not enough money to pay for what the Democrats want. That's why they keep complaining and threatening. They want to raise the debt ceiling to pay for trillions and trillions of dollars in redistribution of wealth and their Marxist spending plans. That's it.
And no Republican should support it. Mitch.
None.
Mark Levin, thank you. Don't forget Mark's show. #1 every Sunday night, right here on the Fox News channel, Life, Liberty, Levin. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.